Sunday, August 13th, 2017, after the Yadkin County Sheriff's Office received a report of an accidental shooting, deputies arrived at 1109 Myers Road. After making entry into the home, they discovered the body of 60-year-old grandfather, Freddie Garnell Speaks Sr. Freddie was dead, and in fact, he had been dead. His wife, 59-year-old Bryn Speaks, had reported that she and her husband were arguing, and during the verbal altercation, she had accidentally shot him. Freddie had been shot on July 19th, she reported, nearly a month before Bryn contacted authorities. After conducting interviews and executing search warrants on the couple's residence, Bryn was arrested by detectives with the Yadkin County Sheriff's Office. Bryn was held without bond at the Yadkin County Detention Center. Freddie and Bryn had been married for 42 years. They had a son and were the grandparents to a little girl. Before Freddie became disabled, he worked at the Lowe's Distribution Center. There was no additional details that I could find on the family or the events leading up to the shooting. This leads me to believe that Bryn did not challenge the courts by taking this case to trial. According to the North Carolina Department of Correction database, she was convicted of second-degree murder on May 22, 2019. She received a sentence of 15 to 19 years. Her projected release date is listed as August 13th, 2032. Bryn had no prior violent crime convictions. Deepest condolences to the Speaks family, and may Freddie Garnell Speaks Sr. rest in peace. On Tuesday, February 7, 2023, shortly after 4 p.m., the Nash County Sheriff's Office was notified of a juvenile that was brought into the emergency room at Nash UNC Healthcare. The juvenile had severe injuries. Deputies and detectives responded to the hospital to further investigate. There, they determined that this was an 8-year-old child. After finding out where the child lived, investigators went to the crime scene on Dutchman Road in Nashville, North Carolina, to further investigate. They quickly learned that 72-year-old Patricia Ricks was the legal guardian and grandmother of this child and her siblings. They all resided together in the home. Care was not given to 8-year-old Crystal Lane. She was badly beaten with severe injuries to her head and throughout her body. She was already dead when she arrived at the hospital. Patricia was quickly arrested, and she chose not to make a statement at the time of her arrest. She was booked without bond into the Nash County Detention Center.
Were any weapons used?
We have found some of those. We're not currently going to release that at this time. Some weapons or items were used as weapons at the residence.
And how did the grandmother take custody of the 5 children?
They're in her custody.
Are the parents not in the picture? What led to the grandmother taking custody of them?
She has legal guardian of the children. The parents do not have guardianship.
Are the parents still living?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the assault happen in the house?
Yes, sir.
Were there witnesses?
There were other children that we believe were at the house. Yes, sir.
When this happened?
Yes, sir.
Inside the house?
Yes, sir.
Were there any security cameras outside or inside the house? And would any video have shed any light on this?
Not that we've determined any video cameras, no, sir.
We need the name of the 8-year-old victim?
No. We're not releasing that at this time, no, sir.
Had Nash County Sheriff's Department ever been to that house before for any kind of situations, or is this the first time you guys ever been there?
Captain, do you know the answer to that? I don't believe that they have, no, sir.
There is a referral from DSS at that residence at this time.
How many referrals?
Just one that we are aware of.
And that was the question. So had DSS ever had it substantiated or unsubstantiated?
That was still under investigation.
So prior to the killing, there was an open investigation?
Yes, open allegation, not an investigation.
An allegation of what? Of abuse?
Maybe, possibly, yes, ma'am.
Possibly, or I just want to make sure I get it accurate.
There's a referral to determine if there was abuse in the home.
Do you know who the complainant was?
No, I don't.
How,
Was
when was
the
that
abuse-
allegation made?
Through DSS.
Well, and when? Was it
Well,
6 months ago? Was it
No,
five?
within a month.
Was the complaint against the grandmother?
Yes.
Was the other adult the grandfather? The
Uh,
other adult that was found at the house?
No, no.
Who brought the child to the hospital and alerted the sheriff's department?
The grandmother drove the deceased juvenile to the hospital, and we were notified originally through National Communications that it was through a juvenile that was still at the residence. Does that make sense? So a juvenile from Dutchman Road called, said that their grandmother was on the way to the hospital and that they would not be stopping for EMS.
Should they call 911?
Yes, ma'am.
Has there been an indication of why the beating occurred?
No, that's what we're still trying to determine a motive.
Crystal's siblings were placed into the custody of Nash County Social Services following their grandmother's arrest. The same people who were alerted weeks before Crystal died that she was possibly being abused by her grandmother. Nash DSS chose not to remove her from Patricia's home. Crystal and her siblings had only been living in North Carolina with their grandmother for a brief period of time. Their biological parents lost custody in court proceedings in South Carolina, where the children were raised, grew up, and where their parents still resided. The Richland County Department of Social Services had an extensive history with the Lane family dating from 2009 to 2022. Patricia's attorney, Phil Lane, said that she had began caring for her grandchildren when she was 71 years old. She gave the kids a happy home so they wouldn't go into foster care. Church members were so surprised when this happened because she was a wonderful grandmother and mother her whole life. Crystal's siblings were placed into the custody of Nash County Social Services following their grandmother's arrest. The same people who were alerted weeks before Crystal died that she was possibly being abused by her grandmother. Nash DSS chose not to remove her from Patricia's home.
What is it? Crystal?
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Miss Donna wants to see it, so I'm gonna do
Maurice? No. Marcus? Marcus?
After being placed in the custody of Nash County's DSS, in April 2023, the Lane children were being moved from Nash County to Richland County, South Carolina, and not in the custody of their parents. They were placed in a residential child care facility. Folks questioned this move. A Nash DSS employee told WRAL that they felt decisions were being made on the case to benefit the adults and not the children. Another source said that the children were getting acclimated in their new foster homes, but now were faced with another move. The Nash County Department of Social Services was ordered by the court to contact the Richland County Department of Social Services to request they seek a determination of custody and placement of the Lane children by the South Carolina court. Our hearts are with the Lane children. The bonds formed between these wonderful children and our team are strong and make the court's decision difficult. Dwayne Lane, the father of the children, also questioned the move.
How come are they moving them from North Carolina to South Carolina when the incident happened in North Carolina? I don't understand it. That's not making any sense to me. Then all of a sudden, it's like they're running from it.
What doesn't make much sense is why Patricia, described as a wonderful grandmother and mother her whole life, took the life of her granddaughter in such a violent manner. Did Patricia want the responsibility of being a guardian? Was she even capable of being a guardian to multiple children, young children at that? And what did Crystal do that brought that much rage out of her 70-something-year-old frame? Patricia called it an accident. On Friday, January 31st, 2025, teachers, family, and law enforcement flooded a Nash County courtroom to listen in as Patricia, who was then 74 years old, entered into an Alford plea. for first-degree murder.
We were not allowed to record audio inside of the Superior Courtroom today, one where Patricia Ricks was highly emotional and oftentimes had trouble accepting her plea agreement. First, law enforcement filed in, then 74-year-old Patricia Ricks.
And it's just been a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of wondering why would this happen to a child?
This heinous case of child abuse has taken a tremendous toll on law enforcement.
This was able to the first step in allowing the community and our deputies to heal that process.
Healing came today in the form of a plea from Ricks, who often couldn't answer the judge's questions as she broke down. It took more than 30 minutes for her to accept the plea of first-degree murder for fatally abusing her granddaughter, 8-year-old Crystal Lane.
When we arrived, it was a scene that I couldn't even describe to you. It was by far the most horrific thing that I have ever seen.
Ricks cared for Crystal and her 4 other siblings in this home, a home familiar to DSS, as they noticed signs of abuse prior to Crystal's murder, but never removed the child. A staff member at Cooper's Elementary says Crystal came to school beaten so badly, she was almost unrecognizable weeks before her death. And still, Nash County DSS never removed her.
This did cause a lot of turmoil inside the county.
The investigation found Crystal was beaten with a plunger and had a taser used on her. Ricks told the court it was an accident. Her attorney said she was off her medication. Her son, Frederick Lane, and Crystal's uncle also addressed the court, stating she was a wonderful mom and grandmother, and this was out of character.
WRAL also reported that during the hearing, Patricia told the court, "I love all of my grandkids. I took those kids. Their mama and daddy didn't want them." Patricia was already housed in the medical unit at the North Carolina Correctional Center for Women, which is where she remains. The most update that I can provide is this photo of the children posted to their father, Dwayne Lane's, social media. Good to see smiles on their faces for sure. Rest in peace to the beautiful Crystal Lane.
This is a case that rocked Nash County and even changed the way of DSS and social services. What would you say to that?
I would say that it's unfortunate that it had to take this to rock everyone's world.
And the judge in this case stated that Ricks needs to have access to medical care while in prison and also undergo psychiatric and mental health evaluation.
Crystal's death has rattled that department. Do you think Nash DSS failed Crystal Lane?
I think that there are things that could have been done differently. I feel for Crystal. I feel for all of those involved. It was a tragic incident that still impacts the agency.
Nash DSS is now operating on its own. However, today DeVega told me the state still comes in twice a month to examine cases at random. And DeVega told me she's done a complete overhaul of the agency, including hiring a whole new team to address child abuse cases like Crystal's.
Now, critical cases are totally being focused on. I implemented an escalation protocol so that critical cases are not just looked at by social workers and supervisors. They're going up the chain to the program manager, the deputy director, and they're also coming to my attention as well.
Bottom line, DeVega told me the community should feel confident that they will handle these cases properly.
That was the chaos unfolding in a hospital in Daytona Beach in January of 2023 after 76-year-old Ellen Gilland shot and killed her husband as he lay in his hospital bed. Daytona Beach police and SWAT responded to a shooting call. Jerry had been shot behind his ear. Ellen had held herself inside Jerry's 11th floor hospital room, waving a gun at several hospital staff members. You see, Jerry was not supposed to be the only one that died that day. The couple, who had been married for 53 years, had made a plan, a pact, that they were going to die together. Ellen recalled in court holding the gun behind Jerry's ear. She said she pulled it away and asked him if he was sure. She said Jerry then raised his hand and placed his hand on her arm, pushing the gun to his head. There was a loud bang and he was gone, she said. She attempted to shoot herself, but she was unable to do so. After a 3.5-hour standoff with the SWAT team, Ellen was arrested and she was booked into the Volusia County Branch Jail with no bond until a judge granted her a $150,000 bond in March, which she posted and was released. Ellen was originally charged with first-degree murder and facing a mandatory life sentence if convicted. However, the month following her arrest, she was indicted on a lesser charge of assisting self-murder, a first-degree felony punishable by up to 30 years. She was also indicted on 2 counts of aggravated assault with a firearm based on accusations that she pointed her gun at a nurse and a security officer, as well as a charge of aggravated assault of a law enforcement officer. Ellen remained free on bond even after entering her no contest plea on December 31st, 2024. The sentence hearing was held February 28th, 2025, and testimony from those who encountered Helen at the hospital that day was heard. One of those witnesses was registered nurse Hector Aponte. He testified to hearing a loud noise as though someone had fallen, so he went into Jerry's room to check if they needed help. Upon entry, he saw Ellen pointing a gun at him, and Jerry had a pillow on his head. Ellen told him to get out of the room multiple times. When asked if Helen made any threats towards him, Hector replied that Helen told him she wasn't going to hurt him, but he needed to get out. Hector said he's had to get counseling for the traumatic event and did not feel safe anymore working at the hospital.
Having been through that ordeal, what would you like to see the court impose as a sentence in this case?
Guilty, and she needs to go to prison.
Nothing further on.
Security officer Corey Jackson testified that when he entered the room 1106, Ellen had a gun pointed at him and told him to get the you-know-what out of here, and that she would blow his brains out.
She advised to get the F out of here. She'll blow my effing brains out. I stepped back, closed the door. My other officer was getting ready to come in. I grabbed him by the collar, pulled him back. At that time, we got on the radio and notified the nurse supervisor. I got on the PD radio, notified law enforcement that I needed assistance with what was going on in the hospital.
The judge also heard how patients had to be moved away from Jerry's room and that the hospital was put on lockdown. The defense called Dr. Stephen Nelson, a medical examiner from another circuit, who testified that Jerry Gilland had expressed that he wanted to die. He also said that Jerry Gilland's health was poor, with some organs failing, and that he was suffering from painful ulcers. He also needed a breathing tube. Dr. Stephen Nelson said Jerry's condition was getting worse. Ellen was called last by her attorneys. She answered questions as well as read from a statement in which she detailed her health problems as well as her husband's. She described after she fired the fatal shot, she sat next to Jerry crying. She wanted to be alone with him, so she told anyone who walked through the door to go away.
Your Honor, for 2 years, I've been preparing myself mentally and emotionally to spend the rest of my life in prison. When I was first arrested, I spent 7 weeks in the Volusia County Jail. The first 2.5 weeks were in the hospital area under suicide watch. The rest of the time I spent in general population. This time spent incarcerated has given me an idea of what my time in prison might be like. In the last few weeks, the prosecution has offered the possibility of a reprieve, and I am grateful. My name is Ellen Gilland. I was born in Iowa in 1946, and my parents, my older sister, and my younger brother moved to Ormond Beach, Florida in 1949. My father was a building contractor and built homes in Ormond Beach area. My mother was a teacher and elementary school principal. My younger sister was born in 1954, and we moved to Winter Park, Florida in 1956, where I completed my education in the Winter Park schools and Rollins College. I picked up the gun and waved it around and told him I had a gun and leave me alone. He left. I am sure he was very traumatized, and I felt sorry, but I needed to be left alone to try to deal with what would come next. The security guards from the hospital came to the door. I told them to go away, that I had a gun.
The judge sentenced Ellen to 366 days in state prison, followed by 12 years probation. She received credit for the time she spent in the Volusia jail. She was also ordered to write letters of apology to the police and hospital workers she threatened with the gun. Ellen was also ordered to perform community service once she is released from prison. Ellen's family was not her only source of support. Supporters of the Florida End-of-Life Options held signs in front of the S. James Foxman Justice Center the day Ellen was sentenced. My heart goes out to all of those that were impacted by the events on January 21st, 2023 at the hospital. Condolences to the Gilland family, and may Jerry rest in peace.